money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right and see life do what you want. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right and see life do what you want. So give me all the scars, I'm a human being. Cover them with tattoos so you can't see. Knew it from the start, you had problems with me and the things I could be.
And we are live. What's up, everybody? Oh my goodness, what a nightmare this thing was to start. So there I was, I got this whole thing set up, right? And then next thing you know, I can't get the blue go live light to turn on for the life of me. I just looking and staring and staring and staring, and then I see it's 7:15, and I'm thinking to myself, well, let me click this button. Well, then I looked down and said 7:13. I clicked the button. I didn't see it light up. It didn't say I was live, so I was like, no big deal, no harm, no foul, right, guys? Wrong. What's up? We got Kristen J, Trisha, Jeff's in the house, Gary's in the house. What's going on, you guys? What have you been up to? How's everybody's week getting started? Mine is starting off just right. Got to give a shout out to all the heathen squatters in the house tonight. Any members of the squad? One in the chat if you just happen to be a member of the squad. One in the chat for squad members only. So no shit, Jeff, there I was, and I was live. I was doing my thing, and it was 2 minutes early. Nobody saw anything. Kristen J just beat the chat to death, throwing up a Supreme Gas in Cali, hitting $9.92. Don't worry, this is just the beginning. Just the beginning. For those of you that are looking at the hearing my real feelings about these issues, you might want to check out The Hate. Just search The Hate. You'll see it. You'll see it, and you'll find me. And we're going to start having these live conversations about stuff like that. But before we get into all that craziness, guys, we have got a great time tonight. We're going to break out the whiteboard. We are going to break out some new fun equipment that I've got going on here. And wait till you guys see the new interfaces and all the crazy gadgets and the gadgets that we got going on in the house. Because I spent a little time this week, guys, and I got a lot of stuff figured out on my end. Well, I don't know if I'd say a lot, and I don't know if I'd say figured it out. But I will say that I did some upgrades on the computer. I know. Finally, right? Been waiting for this. I didn't buy another one because I'm what I like to call cheap. For those of you that didn't know, when it comes to spending money, you could not get a sewing needle in my ass with a jackhammer. Because whenever you start talking about spending money, I'm like, woo, 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 woo. Can I build it? Can we find it cheaper? Maybe somebody's got one. Let me call around. I'll see what I can do. All right, now that we got some people populating in here, guys, listen, for those of you that are in here tonight, thank you very much for coming and hanging out. I personally think this one's going to be a lot of fun. I loved Jeff. Jeff's like, story time. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into story time, buddy. Gary said Michigan's 519. Wow, you guys, this is getting out of hand. Oh, that's really going to make fishing interesting. But if you pay attention to what I teach you tonight, you might not have to spend as much money in gas to find fish. And that's where it gets interesting. Because when I was in the military, way back in the WW-NAM, you know, when we fought wars, it was real interesting because I got a chance to learn a lot about maps, reading maps, especially topographical maps. And then when I got into the fishing game, my buddy is a sailor. He is a sailor and was for a lot of years. So it's interesting because when it comes to the underwater realm, I kind of have a concept that as above, so is below. You know, there's the same type of structures and things like that on the bottom of the water. And if it's not what they like to call sounding, which is down or depressed, then it's elevated. And there's actually going to have some of the same topographical terminology that I'm going to use above the water is what we're going to look at today under the water. Sometimes it's going to be just the opposite. It might be an indention. We're going to find saddles. You guys are going to find this interesting. We're going to get into some of the terms now, boys and girls. I was going to do all this, like write it down on the whiteboard stuff, but a buddy of mine was like, man, you and that whiteboard. I was like, look, I kind of think the whiteboard's a good idea when you're explaining stuff to people. But I mean, what are you going to do, right? So just so everybody knows, no, I am not wearing an all black t-shirt, and that is the best part about it. This is actually a Heathen Squad blackout. You can barely see it. How cool is that? So the reason they're called blackouts, there you go, you guys. Straight up, they're blackout. You wouldn't know it. If you looked at it from an angle, you wouldn't even see it. That's my favorite part about the blackout line. Got a bunch of them. Didn't feel like wearing a hat tonight. It's starting to mess with my hats. It's pulling them down on my head and they're stretching out. And, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, man. It's just not worth it. Jeff says, trust a fishing plan. Jeff, you can trust a fishing plan for sure, buddy. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that tonight, you guys. We're going to see things like draws. We're going to see things like points. We're going to see things like elevations. We're going to see things like elevation lines. We're going to see declines. We're going to see a lot of different stuff that we're going to go over. I am going to pull out the whiteboard. I did get the El Reso at the expo, and I got me a little bit of the old wet, moist paper towel, and the whiteboard is ready when we are ready. Guys, let's take a couple of seconds. Let's get a word from our sponsors, and then we'll move on. How's that sound?
What's up, everybody? Hopefully today we catch some giants. You know it's fishing, bro. You never know how it's gonna go. Undisclosed location unless he's already said it. But this place has been known to produce 8s, 9s, 11s. Yeah, I mean, dude, they're out here, so we'll see what happens.
And guess what, guys? I wore my lucky fishing socks.
Socks on too, buddy. Heathensquad.com. Get yourself some. It makes you fish better. I don't know what the science is behind it, but if you wear these socks, these Heathensquad.com socks, you could probably catch yourself a couple tanks. It's in the science. Trust the science, right?
At least a 30% increase in your average, but that's not typical. But it happens.
That is too much, is it not? Good times, man. Good times, you guys. Let's get some music on. Let's get some stuff going on here real quick. I have got a couple of minutes to set up here, guys. Just give me a couple of seconds. I want to get everything tested and make sure everything's rocking and rolling. I just started doing it, and then I watched my own commercial, so I kind of laughed. So give me a second. You guys still seeing me? I just hit my music button. Hold on. We're gonna give you guys a little something different to look at real quick for just a second while I'm doing this, because this is gonna get a little crazy. Sorry, I messed up. I messed it up. We're doing it live. Thanks, Mark, for letting me know I was on. Appreciate that. I'm still here, guys. This is all going on right now. I'm just making sure everything is squared up real quick. I know I gotta hit 2 buttons right here, and there it is. Okay. You guys, are you guys ready for this? All right, listen. Before this whole thing gets kind of crazy, I want to tell you guys that I am not the smartest guy in the world, but there's a few things I've been able to figure out. This is not one of them. I'm developing patterns. I'm seeing things that are going on. I'm starting to notice the way I catch fish in the places that I've caught fish, and I'm starting to see a pattern in how this whole thing works. So when I sit at the house, I always wonder, what it feels like for some of these guys with their big fancy systems and all their, 14-inch and 36-inch monitors, touchscreen for all their fish finding, HDR, giving mammals cancer within 100 miles of them putting in that thing in the water, if you know what I'm talking about. Look at that. There's Mo Folks on. Mo Folks fishing. You guys ready for this? All right, guys. One in the chat if you're ready for this. I'm going to give you guys a second. If nobody's ready, you got to let me know nobody's ready. But I think we're ready, unless we want to do something else. 1 means we're ready. 2 means it's story time. Go. All right, everybody's ready. All right, guys, check this out. Bang. Look at that. Nailed it right at the end of this song. You wouldn't even have known it. So, guys, this is Navionics fishing app. Well, it's actually a map app, but I use it for fishing. It's used for fishing. It hooks up to the Navionics chipsets that are in the a lot of your big 14-inchers and your 84s and your 36-inch touchscreen HDRs. Yeah, this does the same thing. It just allows me to do it from the house on my phone. And now I get to show you guys what I look at when I go fishing. Look at that. We got a little pop-up there. The community wants to know what I'm doing. All right, guys, this is a sounding map, as you guys can see right here. The only thing I haven't figured out is how to get it to show the cursor on the screen. So I'm actually going to manipulate this cursor. Has everybody got that? Are we all following it? Okay, so this is where I live. This is Lake Harris, okay, you guys? And first things first, when you look at this thing from the top, you're going to notice these different sounding areas, okay? This is a 15-foot area primarily. All this darker area up here, 15 to 20. We're kind of looking at it from way, way out, right? We've got Big Lake Harris, and then we've got Little Lake Harris. But we're going to explore Big Lake Harris because I want to show you guys just how interesting it is to look where you're fishing and then figure out a little bit of why the areas that you're fishing, there's usually, sometimes there's just no fish. Sometimes there's no fish at all. But the reality of the situation is you might be just 10 or 15 yards off of a school or a pile of structure that you had no idea was there. But one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about today primarily is when I said a couple of weeks ago, transitioning fish. This is a lot of what I'm talking about, and we targeted an area where the fish tend to transition, and I'll tell you, we had a fantastic day the other day. It was fish after fish after fish. It was such a good couple of hours, but knowing how to utilize this technique and knowing a little bit of what you're looking for will determine a lot more fish in your future. Just so you guys understand, this is kind of a big deal. For a lot of people to know anything about this could change your fishing game, hands down. I figured I'd bring us in with a little down home, little southern. All right, guys, let's get into this. No, I did not color that, Jeff. It's going to get better, Jeff. Check this out, man. All right, guys, we're getting into our first couple of layers of sounding here. And you're going to notice we've got some contours. In this area right here, it appears we have a structure that's elevated from the water at a 12-foot depth in the area. There's one of my markers. Let's get in on this. let's see exactly what happens when we see what I'm looking for when I'm utilizing my electronics. All right, guys, look how neat this is. What we're actually seeing right here is a draw. And when I say a draw, I want you to put your two fingers together, and you see these two knuckles right here, and then there's this area that's lower and flatter in between. That is a draw, boys and girls. And you notice that there is a little conical area right here, as you guys can see with the cursor right there, that goes down into this slope right here. Now, what I want to show you guys are these terrain lines. Now, as above, so below. So, because down under the water is considered sounding, what we need to do is find our highest area of contour, which is 11 feet. Notice 11 feet is pretty much this whole area, 11 to 12, but when we go here it comes up a little bit. All right, so there's our rise, but then magically we end up at 15 feet, boys and girls. So this area right here goes from 11 to 12 to 13 to 14 to a 15 drop, and then notice that little area right there. That's the draw. This would be a finger and this would be a finger, and what we're looking for is this area right here. You notice that dropped off. Now, because if you look at these contour lines, we're gonna zoom in a little bit more, a little bit too far. Let's keep this thing in green. I'm gonna tell you what, let's keep this thing in green. Now, the thing that we're looking for, guys, is when I say contour lines, that's a badass man. Hey, thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. Okay, so what I want you guys to understand is that when we talk about contour lines, I want you to visualize this like this. Okay, whiteboard time, stand by, stand by. I'm not going to try to explain this to you guys, all right? This is rocket surgery. And some of you guys, listen, I need you guys on stopwatch, and half of y'all are walking around on sundial right now, okay? We need you to get in gear and focus, all right? Listen, focus. Give me a minute. Focus. All right, guys, whiteboard in full effect. Let's get into this. Now I don't even know where my marker is. Okay, so what we were talking about, guys, is contour lines, all right? Now, what I want you guys to imagine is I'm going to draw this in high-speed three-dimensional. Let me get a thicker one. I really want you guys to see this because, I mean, I practice stuff like this. Hold on. Let me hit this button real quick. Give me a second, guys. Okay, I want you guys to understand that when I draw things, okay, people pay big money for shittier paintings that I draw when I do pictures for you guys. So if we were to put a price on what I'm doing right now, I'm just going to tell you it's probably worth about a presidency. Nice. All right, so here we go, guys. When we talk about contour lines, I'm going to show you guys from the side what I'm talking about, all right? And when I show you guys this, I'm going to put little representations up top. And then those representations are how our lines are going to be set. This is a terrible example. Okay, hold on, but we're going to make another example. All right, bear with me, okay? Just chill. All right, relax. All right, one more second. I got to erase something here. This is, like I said, guys, this is priceless here. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. SWC in the house. What's going on, buddy? Yeah, there will be a quiz at the end of this, and I'll tell you right now, if you fail, you probably won't catch any fish. That's probably going to be your punishment for all y'all that weren't paying attention in class. All right, guys, here we go. Whiteboard is out. All right, on the top, guys, if you looked at it from the side, okay, if you were to look at the lake and cut it right in half, this is the way this area would look. All right, and at each point or transition, that's where a tick mark is going to be. Now that tick mark is going to be a distance between each of the squiggle lines, okay? Now, that area between the squiggle lines, the greater the gap, the less of the wall, okay? When they're concentrated, like this the model right here, you'll notice that most of the majority of the action takes place in a very small area, making the lines very, very close together. The closer the lines, the greater the shear wall. So keep that in mind when we're looking upside, we're looking at this thing from the top, that this is actually what we're seeing, okay? Hold on, you guys. We got nonsense going on here. All right. So this is what I want you to picture. Picture these as cutting the water into this. Like just cut the lake right there. Boop. Cut it. Take one side away and look at it from the side. So that'll give you a visual perception, all right? So tight lines, okay? Just so we're all clear, all right? My buddy and I were talking about, do you need one of those mic holder things? Yeah, you should definitely buy one, because I hit this thing all the time and you guys don't hear it, because if you heard like what I have to hear, I hit this thing too often. All right, let's get back to this. Give me a second. Woo! All right, guys. So we are back. All right. Now, what we're going to notice, guys, I want you to notice the gap between this line, and this line, okay? Because that's where our contour changes, all right? We're up here, and then we're kind of falling down what looks like appears to be a bigger hill, but it's only a 1 foot drop. So what I want you guys to think about is that would be like a gradual slope, okay? What we're looking for are stack lines like these three right here. But unfortunately in Florida lakes, small, subtle little things like 2 foot drops within a 4 foot area is a wall. That is a wall for fish to sit on, especially when there's current and a lot of wind up top, like the Florida lakes tend to suffer. So a spot like we just showed right here with these lines are stacked. I'm using this as a smaller example, guys, because in here in just a minute, I'm going to get into like some of the areas that I fish. I'm just using this as an example of an area that literally, as we just saw, you guys, is in the middle of the lake. It's in the middle of the lake. There's no reason to be fishing out there in nothing land, but I will tell you, there is a wall of about 30 feet that if you can get yourself into that 30-foot horseshoe area, into that draw like we talked about, it actually from the side like this, the draw, if you can get yourself in that draw and run along that tighter stacked set of lines, you'll find that fish tend to stack up along walls like that during turbulent water times. So these are all really good tips for anybody that's really trying to figure your lake out at a first glance. Like, where do you want your start? Where do you want to start fishing this lake? Are you just going to give yourself the old go ahead and jump right into it like you got something going on? Or are you going to take the time and invest yourself, just a little time, figure out what you got going on? Hold on, you guys. I just noticed something. Okay. How's that, small water? Is that a little bit better? Okay, because I hit a button earlier when I was messing around and I turned music off and it was all kinds of craziness. Okay, but this is, like I said, this is a basic course, guys. I'm not going to get into all the crazy stuff. I'm just teaching you a few of the things that, honestly, something like a Navionics app, yes, it is a subscription-based, but the reality of the app is that you can pretty much take apart your entire lake and give yourself a totally different battle plan. But going out on a new lake, instead of having to sit out on the boat and actually stare at this, thing, I can just do it while sitting on the turdlet, you know what I mean, during a little me time, and just go ahead and find me a couple of spots I want to hit on the next fishing trip, right? I mean, that sounds like a good idea. All right, here we go, guys. Now, we talked about a lot of interesting stuff, but one of the things that I want to get... Yeah, your bass on the wall, man. Oh, hey, thanks, man. One of the things I want you guys to get out of this is that from the top, everything looks different. Now, I want to take you guys, we talked about the other day, we talked about cranking, you know, cranking on the big walls and stuff like that, and using a lot of stick baits and a lot of jerk baits and stuff. Well, one of the places that's really big down here on Harris, and I want you guys to notice this, okay, because the warning right here is emergent vegetation. But as we look at these depths, I want you guys, wait, 13, 12, 11, okay. 13, wait a minute, let's see what it looks like. Oh, we'll go one up from that. Guys, look at this stack wall. 2 foot, 4 foot, 10 foot, 8 foot, 11 foot. So, literally, guys, this is in an area, I zoom in even more to show you, these lines are stacked about every foot. Literally, there is a contour or change down to a 13-foot draw. Now, this is actually not going to be a draw, guys. This is what we like to call a valley. Just as it is above, so below. Now, this thing picks up on the side of the lake, and we talked about this place a couple of times because some of the big timers go down here and they fish, but I want to show you guys something. Watch this thing really, really closely. Fishing facility, what? 14, 15? Notice how that darker color is starting to set in. Darker color equals deeper water. But watch some of these shelves. Not so much from the 13 to 15 here, considering the amount of space in between all these lines like you guys are seeing, but this is more of my speed. Whoa. 5 to 12. 5 to 12, and this thing's going down 16 feet. Now this begins, looky here. All right, guys, we like to talk about points, right? Fish the point. When we're looking above the water, we're looking at the points. We're looking at the vegetation coming out in points. We're looking at, you know, different types of water runs to where two moving water are meeting each other and there's a V created and then there's a point there. This is an actual point under the water. Now, this one's a little bit large, but the thing I want to show you is this area right here. And I think this right here is going to give you guys an idea. So what we've got, as you guys can see, is we've got a depression there. We've got it going from 13 to 9 and then back up to 10 and 11, and then an area that drops down between 11 and 12 into an 8-foot sounding area. Okay, here's what's interesting. You really can't get into any of this area because of emergent vegetation, but without knowing, you might see this vegetation coming up here on this 9-foot area that runs all the way around this point that we're looking at here, but not to realize that there might not be any vegetation peaking in this 8 to 11 foot, 12, 13 foot area right behind that. So that might be one of those situations where you're wondering where big fish are going to push up. Well, if they're going to push up, they're going to push up right into here because this area goes all the way up to 1 foot deep. Spawning area on Lake Harris? I don't know. I'll let you decide. Well, the other part is, don't forget, you guys, if you ever see something like this on a map, massacre. What did that say? Massacre? Massacre in 17? I have no idea. I thought it said massacre. I was like, yeah, last time I fished that, it pretty much was a massacre, especially right here with this other one right here where this redfish is. But to give you guys an idea, remember, we're talking about, look at that, you guys. Look at the holes there. 19, 20 feet. 24, 25, 27, 28 feet. Guys, look at that. Now, are you going to fish this wide open area right here? See how wide that is and see how there's just nothing there? Probably not. Looking at that right there, that's probably going to end up just being dead space at the bottom of the water, and you can drive over it for 45 minutes. And unless those fish are transitioning, they aren't going to go anywhere near it. Now, they might stick to this wall just to the west side. West side? They might stick to the side, this wall right here, but chances are that contour is just not great enough for them. So the majority of these fish are going to continue right back down into this 23, 24, 27. But look closely, guys. As this starts to come into play, look how our contour lines are just smashed. Oh, hold on. Let me keep it blue for you guys. Look at the contour line. Look at the change in elevation here. We're talking 26, 29, 30 foot. We're at a 30-foot hole right here, basically, that transitions all the way up to 7-8 feet within 20 yards, 20 maybe 30 yards within a cast. You could run a deep dive cast straight down that wall, but I wouldn't. I would fish east to west and catch that whole seam and bring myself on the east side or the north side and the south side of that wall, and then maybe it's like a 10XD or something big crank that I can pull, just drag that thing right down to the bottom there. I'm going to tell you, areas like that, you will find bigs. You will find bigs, and a lot of time they got fish feeders and structure that they've put down there on purpose just so fish will stick in those areas. Believe me, you guys, Harris tournaments, this place gets brutal. If you know offshore fishing, if you understand a lot of what we're talking about here, it gets absolutely crazy. Guys, areas like this, killer areas to fish. This big flat 15, 16 foot oasis right here would just be like a plain. So underwater, guys, that's going to look more like what we would consider when you look in Arizona or the mesas, to where it's flat ground and all of a sudden there's just a big structure there that just ends up being a big flat, what do they call those things? Somebody in the chat help me out. What do they call the thing that goes up? Plateau? Nailed it. Hey, what's going on, Mark? Yeah, so a plateau, that's what those things are called. And at the same time, that's what it looks like underwater. So you're looking for those areas where fish will congregate the deepest. Now, all this is relative, guys, when it comes to water temperature. Now, that's going to be a whole nother episode. I'm not even going to show you guys the real, I'm not going to break down the capabilities of this particular program just yet. We only looked at one little small area of my water, but we literally just traveled 45 minutes in a boat to do exactly what we just did in a matter of minutes. So to give you an idea, when you're doing things like fishing and fishing tournaments and things like that, what a lot of people don't realize is that time management is your biggest asset. Time management will make or break you in a fishing tournament, okay? These things are not guesswork, just so we're clear on that. These are not guesswork. This isn't some type of crazy, well, just, you know what, this tournament, I think I'm just going to go over yonder. I'm going to cast this here, and I'm going to catch them there. That, yes, okay. It does work for some people, but let me tell you, it does not work for me. Okay. Now, Robert Sharp's talking about ambush points. You know, Robert, on the top, that makes a lot of sense. But when you get out on some of these lakes that don't have the top, that don't have those areas of vegetation, I'm really tempted to show you guys one of the lakes that I fish a lot, but I want to clear it with a few people before I let myself show you guys what it looks like down there. Because the thing is, without knowing it, my buddy figured this place out pretty good. He does a pretty good job. He knows a lot of stuff about the area, and then when I referenced it with these mapping systems, I was just blown away that he found a lot of this stuff by luck and chance. But at the same time, it's not as much luck and chance. He knows what the pattern looks like, and he repeats it every time. When he's looking for spots, he's looking for certain things, and not just the top vegetation. There's a lot of bottom vegetation in a lot of your South Florida lakes. So like I said, I don't want to get in too much on the South Florida lakes, because I don't think that would be fair to actually show you guys what those look like from the top. If you do want to get yourself into a system like this and take some more time, the basics that I wanted to cover today were just a lot of lateral lines and what they mean when we're looking down, and what systems like this will actually do for you in the big scheme of things, as far as giving you the ability to locate fishable areas. I'm not going to say locate fish, because again, all of that is determined by the water temperature, pressure as far as boating, and wind. And to be honest with you, atmospheric pressure. I'm going to tell you right now, whether it's prefrontal, post-frontal, whether you're in the middle of a high pressure system or a low pressure system for a duration of time in those transition areas. And then you got to take into account the fish's habits at this point. Because like we were talking about many episodes ago, there are fish that stay deep that always stay deep. And there are fish that stay shallow that always stay shallow. So the real question that we have to ask ourselves is, Which type of fish are we going to target? And then there's moving fish, and then there's stationary fish. So are you going to be the guy that looks for those ambush points, that looks for those small pockets? Are you going to play the percentage, or are you going to be the guy that's just sitting out in his boat all by himself in the middle of the lake and everybody's laughing at him? But in the reality, that dude's crushing it. I mean, he is just crushing it. It's all relative. Again, we can get into stuff like that, but I really want to get back into this, you guys. I want to show you a few more things that are really going to make a difference when you're fishing. I personally have found them to make a big difference. They don't apply so much on some of the lakes that you'll see me fishing, but they do apply on the lakes that you will catch me in once in a while. So hold on one second, guys. All right, we look good. Everything looks good, and we will get back to this button right here. All right, we are back. Now, I want to show you guys a few other little things that I think are going to be really important to all of us. So if you are a boat guy or even a bank fisherman, you know, this thing applies to the banks too, boys and girls. Some of these spots are fire, and I'm going to show you why here in just a minute. All right, guys, Venetian Gardens. A lot of bank fishing area over here in Venetian, okay? I love walking around this place. Sometimes I take my drone out there and fly my drone. Sometimes I just go walk this whole little facility right here. It's got bridges. It's got all kinds of fun stuff. And you can really turn this whole place into a fishing area. But where the real fun's at is getting on the back side of this area right here and fishing this. This guy. Some jerk. Get out of there. Viewed my profile. But these banks right here, boys and girls, are where the fire's at. And I'll show you why. If you look real close, you've got... Oh, come on. Go back to my blue. There we go. Look at these stack lines, guys. 2 foot to 8 foot to 9 foot. See this big wide open area here of 8 to 9 feet? You notice we're really not going to find anything in there. The majority of that, flat. There's nothing there. It's just like the plains, you know what I mean? But if you get on this area here, you got 11 foot. There's a bridge that casts right here, and you can send it out 35, 40 yards and get it down deep. And you can come up with some fish going over there and hanging out. But just to give you an idea, guys, it's not always about where you're fishing. It's more what area you're in, you know, what time of the year and what your water temperature is. I want to show you guys a couple of really interesting things to look for when you're out there fishing, because this is very, very interesting. All right, notice, you guys, we literally are out here in the middle. Oh, hold on. We are out here in the middle of nowhere. All right, in literally the middle of nowhere. As you see, there is there's not too much going on here. What would appear to be nothingness. But when you really get in there and start looking, you're going to notice there is a point. 15, 16 foot, 17 foot, 18 foot. Okay, so there's an 18-foot riff right here. But then magically, there's a point. Now, I'm not going to show you what the depth of that point is, because that wouldn't be fair. That's why I got my little fish mark right there. See, I kind of censored this for you guys just to kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at, but I don't want to tell you why I'm looking there. But if you were to have this type of program and you were to look in this type of area, you would find this specific spot that, again, is literally in the middle of nowhere. And when I tell you guys, there are fish there. There are fish congregating around this one object. It has its own ecosystem. It has everything you can imagine. There's grass, there's rocks, there's all kinds of interesting things. There's sand. There's a lot of vegetation and a lot of fish action down in this one little tiny spot, which is rather interesting because there shouldn't be anything there. Another place I want to show you guys, it's real interesting. When you start to look around man-made structures like this area right here, this just happens to be a big bridge, okay? And as we all know, when they go in and they put these pylons in and stuff like that, or a boat ramp, you're going to have some change to the topography or to the sounding, the area under the water. One of the interesting things that they did this last time that they dredged this place out when they were fixing pylons is they left us, notice this transition. We've got 12 foot here, just like on that spot earlier that we showed on the south side of the lake, that transitions into what appears to be 18 feet, but it's actually 20 right there on that point. Notice the lines, they're stacking up pretty good here from 9 foot down to 20 foot in about 40, 50 yards there. So this side here would probably be the best side to fish on because that's where the majority of your stacked lines are good and tight down to a pretty good depth there. Now, as you can see, you're going to have a 12-foot area here that's got a 15-foot, you got 12 to 8, and again, another one of those holes 16 feet. Now, this stuff doesn't seem like much from the top, okay? I know this is how you do it. As far as if you've got fish that you're looking, your particular style of fishing is pulling fish out of the deep, and your particular style of fishing is open water fishing. Like, you know, I've got a buddy, Steve-O. Steve-O is a fantastic open water fisherman. He lives on his graphs, and he's fantastic with his graphs, and he will do crazy things like reach down in the water and find fish. You know, he does it a lot. And a lot of it, though, is based on this type of system. It's about locating fish. It's about locating areas where there are going to be fish. Now, I don't have any type of sonar on this that will actually allow me to use it as a fish finder, but nonetheless, I know that even without a fish finder, I can end up being very successful or more successful than anybody that's just blindly going out on the lake. Now, you can hit the high pressure areas and you can catch fish, but you can hit no pressure areas and have one of your best fishing days on a lake like this. It's the same way with a smaller lake, except for you're not going to have the same feel. And like I said, if I get clearance with everybody, maybe I'll show you guys some of the South Florida lakes that we fish, and I think that would get you guys, you would think to yourself, oh, wow, that's nasty. And, you know, when you're in those areas, it gets pretty nasty. I know Small Water Charters. He knows a lot of those areas. It's pretty funny. Mo Folks Fishing says, need to get those castable sonar bobbers. Are they worth a damn? Boatless. I don't know anything about those castable bobbers, buddy. I really don't mind going out and just slinging it. You know what I mean? I really don't need sonar. I kind of know the areas that I go to fish off the boat and on the boat. You know, even the areas that I go to fish off the boat, I end up catching some pretty good sized fish. And the people that are fishing there, they're blown away. They have no idea. They have no idea how I come up with some of these fish. And they're fishing right next to me for 25, 30 minutes longer than I've been there. Guys, what did you think of all that, man? New computer upgrades, got all kinds of stuff going on. I mean, I'm having a little audio issue. It's not me, it's YouTube. I'm going to tell you right now. They've already sent me a little notification like 3 times. It's actually kind of aggravating. Guys, that's just some of the basics that I wanted to go over with you. I thought that would be kind of cool, is to give you guys a little idea of some of the basic stuff that you're looking at. I'll do a little bit more advanced episode later on and really like sit down with it and film it. That's my biggest issue right now, is just sitting down and like doing the cut and the edit stuff and making sure I say things the right way and it's all proper and in the time. And I think I do a pretty good job of that in a live setting. I think I enjoy the live setting a lot more than I do sitting down and structured and laying out and bam, 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 bam. I don't think like that. I kind of think on the go. You know, again, some of y'all are running on sundial. I need y'all on stopwatch because we're going to move fast, you know, and that's pretty neat that a lot of you guys, you're getting, I hope a lot of you guys learned something from this. I hope it was pretty interesting. Are you going to have a stream about cast pirating? Jeff, I can't believe I read that aloud. Yes, Jeff, we're actually going to have a whole episode that talks about casting pirate style, which is, I mean, there's flipping, there's pitching, and then there's pirating. And that's how I roll. You know what I mean? A lot of guys think that, you know, my skill is on par with a lot of the guys that I fish with, but you'll find that it's not that my skill's on par with them at all. The majority of the guys that I fish with are much better fishermen than me. I tend to spend the majority of my time watching where they cast and then taking advantage of that. That's how I really like to do it, to be honest with you. I think it's very important that everyone takes advantage of other people when they're out fishing with them, especially if it's their boat. Listen, there's a rule somewhere down in the fishing lore that says that you're allowed to just do that. It's just allowed. It's like it's unspoken, I guess you could say. Actually, I was going to give you guys like a really cool surprise tonight. I've got 2 things in the mail right now, and it looks like tomorrow. I'm going to get both. Well, I know I'm going to get one tomorrow. The other one, I don't know. It'll be here when it gets here. That's kind of how, but it'll be here fast. It always is. It's just a question of when they ship it. So I'm kind of tempted to do an unboxing. Maybe we'll have a little live sit down, real funny, you know, whatever tomorrow. We'll see. I'm not promising anything. Like I said, tonight I really yacked up the stream, and I apologize for that. Oh, look at that. Smallwater's headed to coastal, headwaters with coastal fever. If you cut it in half, all the water's going to run out. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, so you guys, good luck tomorrow. I hope you guys catch some fish. I mean, it's headwaters. I mean, if you don't, it's because you're not cast pirating. That's the problem. If you go out there and you just cast right where Doc casts every cast, you'll be fine. You'll crush it. Guys, I do appreciate your time. I really do. I enjoy giving you guys little bits here and little bits there. Like I said, I didn't really want to get too in-depth tonight because this is a lot of stuff to talk about, and it's going to really confuse a lot of people, and I'm not trying to confuse you, but I wanted to give you some basics about some of the options that are out there, and these things work. These things are very efficient. If you do own a boat and you're just a down scanning master and you're not really getting into your graphs and really starting to look into your sonar setups and looking for sounding areas, looking for vegetation emergent, but then knowing that just 30 yards into that vegetation it's going to open up to a big hole that unless you had a drone you wouldn't even have seen. You know, that kind of stuff, it's fire. That's that day that you tell everybody, oh my God, I'm quitting my job, honey. I'm selling the house. We're buying a motorboat and we're buying a motorhome and we're on our way. You know, I got my bass boat, motorhome. I'm going pro. You don't even know what I put 45 pounds on 5 fish in, and this has changed my life. It changed my life. Don't do that. Okay, but it does make a difference if you really want to take the time and plan out a trip, and you can do some really neat stuff with it, you know. And that's the most important thing, is that if you're going to get into this fishing game and you are going to want to be successful about it, utilize all the tools that are at your disposal. Whether it's some stupid app that you paid for, or you know, whether it's just fish brain, utilize these things so that I don't share any of my information, just so we're all clear. You're not going to get any shared buddy pins from me, okay? Just so we're clear. I love every one of you. I mean, you guys are all good guys, but if you ask me to drop you a pin, I'm going to tell you, you know that place over there? Yeah, go that way, and then it's just over there. Right over there, you know, that way. Trust me, you'll love it. Guys, again, we'll start it like this and we'll end it like this. It's been real. It's been fun. See you guys on the next one. See ya.